Hello and welcome to my channel. Today I am going to be going through all of the books I read in the month of January. So in January I read 5 books, which for me is a lot. I know for some people that's hardly anything, but I felt like I was reading a lot. So let's get into the books I read in January. The first book I read was Six of Crows, which I actually did start. I think I started it in December, but I finished it in January. This book is about a group of criminals, misfits, who basically perform this heist, this impossible heist, to kind of extricate this scientist from this prison that's just completely impossible to break into. And it kind of goes through each character's perspective. So each chapter is like a different character and their perspective. I did enjoy this. I gave it 4 stars. I felt like it was a little bit juvenile. Just some of the characters felt a little bit one-dimensional to me. But I did really enjoy hearing about their backstory and kind of what made them who they are. I really liked Kaz, so he's kind of like the main guy. But yeah, it just felt slightly simplistic. I don't know what it was about it, but it didn't feel fully fleshed out to me. I did really like the actual heist itself, but it takes quite a while to get there. I think it's like over halfway through and they're not even doing the heist yet. So yeah, it did feel like it dragged a little bit for me. I finished it, I enjoyed it, but I wasn't like, oh my gosh, I need to read book 2, which I feel like is a little bit of an unpopular opinion. I feel like a lot of people absolutely love this, and I did enjoy it. I just wasn't absolutely enthralled by it. I wasn't dying to get back to it and find out what happened. I think it is because of the characters. I just couldn't connect to them as much as I wanted to. There was definitely moments where I really felt connected to a character and I really wanted to know what kind of made them the way that they were and their backstory and everything, but it wasn't enough for me. It wasn't enough emotional connection. I think I definitely appreciate that a little bit more than tons of action. So I think this book is really great if you love lots of action, lots of things happening. But again, it felt like it took a while to actually get to the action. It was an interesting setup, an interesting world and premise, but I think for me, it's not a 5-star kind of world to me. Like, I wasn't dying to be in this world. I think that was another part of it, is like the world itself was just not enough to keep me coming back to it. I don't know if any of that makes sense, but basically I liked it. It wasn't amazing. It wasn't the best book I've ever read. I have started on Crooked Kingdom, which is the second book in the series. And again, I'm enjoying it. I think I might be enjoying it a little bit more actually than Six of Crows. So we'll see how I get on with that one. It was good. The second book I read in January was Fundamentally, which I read as part of a book club that I am part of in Edinburgh. So we actually met up and discussed this book. So the book is about Nadia, who basically travels to Iraq to work with ISIS brides, essentially. So women that were married to members of ISIS. So it's a little bit of a hard-hitting read. I didn't really know what to expect going into this. All I knew was that it was supposed to be funny. Yeah, I didn't really have any expectations. I did not like this. I gave this 2.5 stars. I just could not wait to be finished with it, to be honest. I think the writing style just really grated on me. I just found it really inappropriate somehow. Like, that sounds really weird, but just for the subject matter, it felt so disrespectful to the issues that it's talking about. So it's kind of written in a way that makes it seem really flippant almost. It's very flippantly written. It feels like it's written by a high schooler or a college graduate. It kind of feels like you're in a college party. It focuses so much on the UN workers and their relationships with each other, and they all sleep around, they all do drugs and party, and it's like, just feels so inappropriate when we're supposed to be dealing with this really difficult issue of these women who are stuck in these camps. Because essentially the whole reason that she's there is to get these women out of these camps, because they are not allowed to leave. They're stuck there until their country of origin will actually take them back, because most of them have had their citizenships revoked. A lot of them have come to Iraq through coercion. They didn't know what they were getting into. They were extremely young. So it deals with some really tough issues and really important issues. And the strangest part to me is that the author, that is what she actually does. That's her field. This is her first fictional story that she's written. Everything else she's written has been like academic papers. It's just a weird choice to me. I understand what she's trying to do, I think. I think from what I can gather, she was trying to make it more accessible to an everyday audience who wouldn't necessarily pick up a book about this topic. And I do think that's an interesting idea, but I think it was just the way it was carried out was just, I hated it. I didn't like it. I would have given it less, but I was really interested by the topics that it brings up and by the women that it does speak about. I mean, it hardly focuses on any of the women or their stories, but when it does, I was really interested in those stories, and I was glad to be reading about that because honestly, I don't know that much about it. So it definitely opened my eyes to some things, and it helped me to understand some things that I didn't really know about. So I'm glad I read it. I was quite nervous going to the book club that everybody else would love it and they would all give it 5 stars and I'd be the only person that didn't. But thankfully, I was not the only person with that opinion. Everyone else seemed to kind of agree. The other thing that got brought up a lot is that everybody hated the main character in this. So Nadia is just so self-absorbed, so unlikable. It's just really, really hard to connect with her because you just don't like her at all. And she has so much power to make such a difference in the world and the lives of these women and just does absolutely nothing with it. She literally ends up helping one person out of this whole camp full of women. And the only reason she's helping her is because she reminds her of herself. And it's just so frustrating to read about. You're like, really, come on, like, why are we not focusing on everyone else here? Like, surely you could do more. So yeah, I just found it a frustrating read. It also just randomly, it would be so crudely written. Like some of the little phrases or way it would describe things. Like, I don't think I've ever read a book with as many references to women's breasts in my life, which is so random, but every single female character in this, it describes her breasts. And I'm like, why do we need to know this? Like, I'm so confused. Why is that an important detail in this meeting with this president woman? Like, what? Why do we need to know this? I don't know if that's because the main character is bisexual and she's kind of looking for some kind of, I don't know why. It was very odd. It kind of felt like reading about a man, but it was a woman. Just some of the decisions that she was making, it just, I don't know, it was very weird. A lot of the people at the book club brought that up as well. So I'm just glad I wasn't the only person because I wanted to like this. I really wanted to. I was so interested in reading about this, but for me, it just absolutely did not land at all. I would be interested to read anything else she writes because I think she's got a lot to say. I think it just did not work at all in this book. So for me, this just was not a fun read or anything that I would recommend. But I would say if you are interested in that topic, maybe give it a go. Just be aware that it is frustrating. It's a frustrating book to read, but if you don't know anything about the topic, then it is interesting to get some tidbits of information. Like I said, you don't get much, but what you do get is interesting. So not really for me. The next book I read was Shield of Sparrows, which was part of another book club that I'm part of on Fable. So this is the first book in a duology. The second one comes out, I believe, in April. This is a chunky book. It's big, but I devoured this. I finished this, I think I read a little bit before, but I finished most of it in 2 days, which for me is crazy anyway, let alone for like a book this thick. But I really, really enjoyed this. I gave it 5 stars. I know some people have had some issues with it, but I literally just could not put it down. I was having such a great time. It's one of those books that has loads of like twists and turns and just things are exposed to you and it just surprised me over and over and over again. And I really liked the world that we're in. I really loved, there's this whole section that's in tree houses, and yeah, I really, really enjoyed this. So basically the book is about a girl called Odessa who is the firstborn of a king. His wife then dies and he remarries, and she also has a daughter. The daughter of his second wife is set to be the Sparrow, which basically means she will wed a prince from another kingdom and continue on the tradition of the Shield of Sparrows, which is basically the agreement that these different kingdoms have, that they will continue to align their interests with each other and keep the peace, basically. So she is set to marry another man, but the prince that arrives ends up actually picking her to be the Sparrow, which kind of throws everything, throws all of her father's plans. She hasn't been trained for this, she hasn't been prepared for this, but she basically has to go with this prince to his kingdom, which is very dangerous. It takes many days at sea and then days and days on horseback. They meet lots of different characters. There's lots of monsters in this because the gods of this world created these monsters to kind of keep the humans in check. So they have to constantly battle these monsters. There's a character in this called the Guardian, who is kind of the prince's like right-hand man, and he kind of looks after her throughout the book. In more ways than one. It's just so good. There's so many different twists in this. A lot of them I guessed already, but some of them, there's one at the end of the book that I was literally like, what? Like, what? Like, what does this even mean? What? Like, I finished the book and I was like staring at the wall. Like, I could not function. I was like, I need to read the second book now, and it comes out in April. I'm so mad that I can't just go and read it because I really like this. I was not expecting that at all. So yeah, really enjoyed this. The only thing that's slightly frustrating, I did give it a 5 stars, but if I had to critique it, the only thing that I did find a little bit annoying was it says at the beginning when she gets nervous, she asks lots of questions. That trope became a little bit annoying. So she was just constantly asking question after question after question to everybody, which just became a little bit annoying. So I would say that's the only thing that kind of dragged it down a little bit, but I had so much fun. I was literally enthralled. So yeah, loved this. I then read Emily Wilde's Encyclopaedia of Faeries, which I also absolutely loved. I gave this 5 stars, which I was, to be honest, expecting. I did think I would really like this because this has me written all over it. It is about Emily, who travels to this distant land. I believe it's pronounced Josland. I think it's supposed to be like Norway or Sweden or one of those Scandinavian countries, but it's called Josland. The town is called Ravensvik. It helped that I listened to the audiobook for some of this because there's so many characters that I just didn't know how to pronounce their names. So I would recommend listening to the audiobook, at least for some of it. I kind of read both the audiobook and the physical book, but this was just so cute. I really liked this. There is some darker things in it. So it's about, basically she is a scholar who is studying these fairies, and she has her kind of companion scholar called Wendell who joins her. He is this Irish guy who is just very charming. Everybody loves him, but she's just the total opposite. She's very introverted, very awkward. She absolutely loves her study, but she just doesn't know how to deal with people. So together they kind of make the perfect team, and they come to Josland to study the fairies of that realm. She kind of goes out into the woods and kind of, I guess, lures them in, but then also she speaks to the townspeople to kind of find out their stories of the fairies. And through it, she goes through lots of different adventures. Yeah, it was so good. I really liked their relationship. Actually, it surprised me because at first I was like, how is this gonna work? They are so different. They're literally the opposite ends of the spectrum. Like, how on earth are they ever going to be a good match? It's so sweet. I thought it was so cute. By the end, I was absolutely rooting for them. There is I think a couple of other books in this series. I think there's 2 more. So I'm definitely gonna read those because I really had a great time with this. Yeah, it's very cozy. I would say it's not as cozy as, say, like the Spell Shop, because there are some darker things in this. There's definitely, you know, like there's a changeling boy who ends up kind of tormenting the town a little bit. There's some fairies who kidnap children and kill them horribly, and, you know, so it is cozy, but there's definitely some darker elements. But yeah, I loved it. I really enjoyed it. I think I'm definitely going to read it again next winter. It's very wintry, by the way. I was not expecting that when I first picked this up. I thought it was going to be summery because it just looks very summery, but it's definitely, the whole thing is in winter. At one point she goes to this kind of ice kingdom. Actually, a couple of times she goes to a couple of different ice kingdoms. So it's very wintry. Really enjoyed this. And then finally, the last book I read in January was Beartown by Frederick Backman. I actually just filmed a reading vlog of that, so I don't know if I'm gonna put this out first or that one. So I'll quickly recap my thoughts. Basically, Beartown is about a town in Sweden, and the entire thing the town has going for it is ice hockey. The future of the town kind of hinges on this one ice hockey match. And so everybody is just very, very invested, much more than they would ordinarily be in ice hockey. And the people that are playing ice hockey are all teenagers, they're like kids. One day something happens with one of the kind of major players. Because of that incident, everything kind of unravels. The whole town kind of turns against somebody. I'm not going to say who it is. They turn against someone and everything kind of unravels, and it just becomes like a he said, she said kind of story. It's very dark, and I would say if you are struggling with your mental health, or if you have experienced gaslighting, or if you're just not really ready for a difficult read, I would definitely skip this, or just maybe leave it for another time. It is really, really good. It's written really beautifully. Yeah, it's just a little bit, it's a tough read. So I would check the trigger warnings. This is the first book in a series of, I think there's 2 other books. I don't know if I'm going to continue on the series because I just wasn't super wrapped up in this world. I didn't really care that much about the characters or the town. I did think it was really well written, but not enough to kind of keep me super engaged in the characters. Honestly, most of the characters are not the nicest people in the world, so I was like, I don't really care what happens to you. Some of them are just adorable and very, very sweet. So I'm rooting for them, but I don't know if I'm going to be continuing on. I'm glad I read it because it was just something different. I don't think I read anything written quite this way before. It's written very much, you know, it'll have like a paragraph from one character's perspective, and then the next paragraph is a different character, and then the next paragraph is a different character. Like it swaps perspectives, sometimes like literally paragraph to paragraph, sometimes it's chapter to chapter, but it's just very, very quick switching of perspective, which I just found quite jarring. I know some people really like that, but I just found it a little bit difficult to, it wasn't difficult to follow, it was more difficult to stay engaged, I would say. Like I knew what was happening the whole time, but I was kind of like, okay, now my attention is, it's shifted again. Like it struggled to keep me engaged, I would say, in the overall what was happening. Also, there was just some irritating tropes in the way this was written for me, which I mentioned in the reading vlog, but basically it'll say a character's name, but then it'll say, you know, the man sat waiting for the woman. And I'm like, can you not just say their names? Like you just, like what? Why is it written that? It's just very strange sometimes. And then another thing I found irritating was it just felt like it was written to be profound. Like at the end of every paragraph, it would have like a sentence that was supposed to be like mic drop, you know, like this is such a profound statement. But after a while, I was like, okay, I get it. Like you're trying to be profound. Like, can we just like move on with the story? Like, I don't know. I just found that annoying. Like, I know that's a really unpopular opinion. Like a lot of people absolutely love this and it's their favorite book of all time. And I totally understand that. But I just felt personally, it just took me out of it a little bit. And also the ice hockey thing, I'm just so not into sports at all. And I don't understand sports. So I found that a little bit exhausting to read about. I was like, I don't really care about sports. I don't really care about this town. So I did like it. I gave it 4.25. But yeah, it's a tough read and it just wasn't engaging enough that I would necessarily continue on with the series, but I would recommend reading it. It is really good. I don't feel like I've sold it very well. It is good. And I did cry a few times and there's some really beautiful, very, very sweet moments as well. I'm really, really interested to read some more of Frederick Backman though. I definitely want to read Anxious People and My Friends as well, because I do think there's a huge amount of promise in the way that he sees people. I think he seems to really, really understand people and their motivations and the inner workings of their minds. And that was super, super engaging. And it felt like reading about real people, which I really, really appreciated. Definitely excited to read more of Frederick Backman. This probably wasn't the book for me, but definitely recommend it if that's your thing. So that is all the books I read in the month of January. Some really, really amazing books and some okay ones. I'm currently in the middle of Crooked Kingdom, so I will let you know what I think of that in my next wrap up. I am also planning on reading A Winter's Promise, Watermoon, and potentially The Will of the Many. I'm trying to get through my physical TBR just because I'm moving soon. So I'm really trying not to buy any books until I move. I do also need to finish ACOTAR because I've only read the first book in the series. I never continued it, and that was literally months ago. I can't remember when it was. But I also need to continue on with that at some point. So yeah, at the moment, Crooked Kingdom. I do have a book club book to read as well, but I'm not sure if I'll read it. I'm slightly terrified to read it, honestly. It's just so out of my comfort zone. It's called Half His Age by Jeanette McCurdy. And all I know is it's basically Lolita, but very graphic and sexual. And I just don't know if I'm ready to read that. I don't know if I want to read that or discuss it with a group of people. So we'll see. That's the book club book for my in-person book club in the month of February. So potentially I'll read that, might not, might give it a miss. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great week. Not really sure what my next video is going to be. Again, I did a reading vlog of Beartown, but I'm not sure if I'm going to release that one first. So potentially there's a reading vlog coming up. Or something else, which I haven't recorded yet. But if you haven't already, please do subscribe, and I will see you in my next video.